Hello GMAN Division 4D, it is I, your recap Chug Milk, coming in with the penultimate recap of the season. Week 11 has just gone by, we're now in week 12. Without further ado, let's begin. So. We are now in the final stretch of the season. The leaderboard is back to being quite tight. We'll talk about that after we look at the results for a bit. Without wasting any time, we'll go into Rapscallywags versus GFI Joe's Full Throttle Rotters. Now this game, if Yusarian wanted a serious shot of going for either being back against, being back in the position where he can challenge for the second place, he needed to win this. GFI Joe, after I drew, to snag second place for himself, needed to win this. However, quite fortunately for me, because either of them winning would really put a pressure on myself in second place, both drew. Now, I saw Yusarian posting in the chat just after the game, and he was of the opinion that he was quite lucky to get a draw after the first half. He didn't play well enough. Some real damage there coming from Throttle Rotters. Not unexpected, due to the mighty blow that is on display in that Nurgle team, in addition to how squishy line rats are. 5 of them. So one of them, a few times, or one time at least, one of the rats hurt themselves, which is always quite tragic. Rapscallywags, well, depending on how many of those were 3+s, this could be either really bad dodge statistic or could be a really good one. Tentacles really did a lot of work here. A lot of work there. Pickups were fine. Hail Mary pass came into play. Nice to see. Fairly low. Well, catches could be like 5+s or 6+s from scat balls. Regeneration worked, which is fortunate there for GFI Joe. Block dice. Quite a lot of powers, but quite a lot of both downs. Not a lot of scolds. Pretty decent as well for Rapscallywags. So nothing to say from the dice tells me this was a crazy game. But the perspective we got from Yusarian was a bit lucky for Yusarian to be a 1-1 either way. Both coaches will be a little unhappy, I guess, with their position. Yusarian now has me next week, or this week we're talking about. So if he had gone to, third or fourth place after beating GFR Joe at 19 points, he beat me. Very good chance he could still be in the run for the Challenger Cup. But with that draw, Yusarian is pretty much all but finished. Unfortunate, my commiserations to Yusarian. GFI Joe, though, still has a fantastic shot at the playoffs, or more so the Challenger Cup. And only the Challenger Cup, because we'll talk about that in a bit. We'll now move on to the Mark of Nurgle versus Magi Severa. Helgen versus T-Cold. This was a bit of a brutal game, from what it sounds like. Don't like to spoil injuries, but I will. Move bust on the Beast of Nurgle. Dead movement up Pestigore. Pestigor's not the biggest loss in the world, but having to think about recycling the Beast of Nurgle is not great. Despite a lot less blocks, more injuries from the Norse, which I'm sure the Mark of Nurgle will be very unhappy that happened. Helgen won't like that. The perspective we got from after the game, again, a lot of people are now talking in the chat again, which is fantastic, but the perspective from Helgen was he's glad that he has a reason to quit the team because he's not having fun with Nurgle. Fair enough. Two regenerations failing is really annoying. That's quite bloody unlucky. 5 intercept rolls were made, which is insane. You never usually see that many intercept rolls actually rolled. And for 5 passes to have turned into 0 intercepts, well, you have to roll 6 for an intercept. But still, I would usually say that's pretty unlucky. It's a bit, it is a bit crazy that. But bomb, so So yeah, it definitely looks here in certain respects that Helgen was quite unfortunate. 10 pounds to 17 skulls is unfortunate in addition to those dice we just read. T-Cold had pretty average dice, more pounds than skulls, but, you know, marginally so. I would say marginally so. Passes were not on point, which I think is unfortunate. Obviously, Stink does something. Dodges being 6 to 7, unless those were like 4 pluses and 5 pluses. That's also unfortunate. Yeah, it looks like this was a bit of a weird one for dice. A crazy game. Loner failed 3 times, so obviously the Yeti was doing Yeti things. Weird game it looks like from this one. 1-1, I guess. The bad dice, averaged out, but commiserations specifically to Helgen for those 2 losses on his team. My advice, Helgen, is either if you want to take a new team on, play a new team, do so. I think he did mention that you might just take a break from Blood Bowl for a season. Completely up to you. I just think that maybe playing Nurgle for 2 seasons is I can see it wearing on someone, like a team that's really unresponsive and they can only really do 1 or 2 things, and even then it might not win. Take a break if you really need it, but I would say why not pick up elves or something, have a bit of fun with that. Either way, commiserations to Helgen. Both teams, both coaches here had a hard season, but the end is in sight at least. This is a massive result. 2-1 for the Sun-Baked Seagull, going to size high off team versus Masterful's Khemri. He couldn't get it done against the Elves. The Elves managed to survive for just long enough. I kind of predicted this would probably happen. The Elves just fantastic, and the issue with Khemri is they're not too responsive to all the things that can happen in an Elf game. But what this does mean is a very, very strong position on the leaderboard for Gunnerside. Again, talk about it in a bit. Congratulations there to Gunnerside. We'll just look into the statistics now before I forget. 2 unbreaks to 13. Makes sense. 4 KOs and 2 injuries. Yeah, okay. He got what he wanted for most of the point, like most of the time. 15 blocks for, yeah. Elf game. It was an Elf versus a Bash matchup, clearly. Dodges were generally good for the Sea Guard. A little bit below curve for those all 2 pluses, of course, but marginally so. Leaps worked, pickups were fantastic, passing. Lightning Bolt worked. Lightning Bolt was on him, so he got wizarded because it was a Wizard Stadium, wasn't it? Yep. So both Lightning Bolts worked, but I assume the Lightning Bolts can obviously mean a lot more half the time to a Elf team. Khemri dodges didn't work, which is unfortunate, to be honest. 16% is bad, even with 2 edge. Pick up, it's okay. There looks to have been a passing game from Masterful. Not sure if that was intentional. This was a semi-important game for Masterful, I would say. If he had won again, as far as I can remember, that would also mean he would go above me, get a very solid position there in 2nd place. So I kind of really lucked out, though. A lot of my competitors were just drawing and all that. So, yay for me, I guess. Not to turn this recap about the me show. Well, you know, how does this league revolve around me? But, yeah, that's just how it shook out. So, yeah, sad there. Commiserations to Masterful. But Gunnerside showing why he has been atop of the leaderboard since about the very first few weeks. My game was a 1-1. I'm very happy with this game. First block of the game for me immediately removes the scary bull centaur Il Tremol at Tukamakuri. Yeah, he didn't have a tackle mighty blow piece with guard running around the entire game because I badly hurt it. He scored, and there's nothing that I kind of could do. I wasn't gonna like put my pieces on his pieces because I want a healthy team. If I get a draw, that's generally okay. I can kind of live with that. Winning's fine, but I want to see how many removals I can get. And my removals were pretty on point. He did give it as good as he got it in terms of he cared more of my players. He injured more of my players, but I didn't really matter. I had a bench. I kept 11 players all game, but he didn't have the bench. I injured 2 or 3 blockers and a ball center. One of his blockers was actually armor busted, but managed to come back, luckily for him. But even when it was like turn 13 and I had like removed half of his blockers and one of his ball centers were out, I didn't feel comfortable enough scoring and trying to retrieve the ball back from him. I just didn't. I felt like he still had enough in him, so I just settled for the 1-1 here. Fairly equal in blocks. This was probably my worst matchup. The matchup that I was scared about for pretty much all season. The Underworld will have every right to be happy that it was a 1-1 with no serious damage apart from one lost goblin. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But yeah. This is a game. This is a game. So, 3-2 to the halflings against Matty's necromantic team. I said in the last recap that this was likely for me the one game where the necromantic had a really good shot at losing. I was going to say that the halflings, but I was thinking about necromantic. Yeah, I said the halflings had probably the best shot of the season because the necromantic, they don't have a lot of skills. They don't have the tackle, really. They don't have really much. And they're still giving away inducements. So it's not like, oh, I'm giving away 300, 400 in terms of inducements away to the halflings, but I have mighty blow tackle. This is really, again, a team that doesn't really have anything. Furthermore, 3 injuries and a kill and 4 KOs. The fact that the halflings gave it as good as they got from the necromantic team is massive, and the necromantic team really can't afford to go down players. It looks like there was enough done to at least reduce for a drive or two how many players were on the pitch. A massive SPP haul there from the halfling team. Dodges were actually pretty good for once. No 53% here, 73% is pretty damn nice. Pickups worked. Oh, wait, Bonehead. So he induced Bertha Big Fist, and Bertha Big Fist didn't bonehead at all, which is a fantastic result, I would say. I guess some of these dodges could therefore be 2 pluses because of Bertha. Going for it's fine. Landing 5 out of 1. Brilliant. Amazing. His KOs generally came back, and since the only thing he really got was KOs, that's pretty good. Catches were fantastic. Didn't take root much. Throw teammate was a success 6 times out of 2, so finally he's been able to do the fling game. And the necromantic team, okay KOs. Regeneration were really bad though. Going for it were horrible. Yeah, pickups were bad as well. So, I did say that this was very much going to be the game where potentially GMAN could win this. I was like, well, the Necro still should win this, but I got proved wrong. GMAN did fantastic. He finally got the dice that he's been kind of looking for all season, and now with a win on the board, he isn't going to be winless this season. So, massive hats off there to GMAN. Commiserations to Mattia, because Mattia was having a pretty strong mid-season rise up the table there, but that really puts a dampener on where he is going to end up. For a while in a position where he could literally be up there for a Challenger Cup spot if he just kept winning his games. But this shock victory for the Flings puts a dampener on that completely. Now, this game is also pretty important for the division. Plovak, after having about 3 or 4 game weeks that way, nothing really kind of worked for him. He fell from 2nd place, really down in doldrums. Finally, this Listerman team managed to pull itself out the rut, put some results together. 6 KOs inflicted, 5 injuries inflicted, with one of those being a kill. Out with 63 blocks isn't completely unexpected. I mean, it's. Let's look at the team briefly. I know I'm going to have to return to it, I think, for level ups and all that, but why not? Him out blocking the Necromantic is completely expected. That's completely fine. I will say 6 KOs and 5 injuries. with literally one instance of Mighty Blow is pretty damn decent dice there for Plovak. With a lot of those pieces being 8 armor and 9 armor, you wouldn't really expect for that to happen. I mean, volume of blocks will obviously do much more to a team than anything else. That's why Amazons can do so well, because they can keep blocking. Doesn't matter how Mighty Blow, you can still do the damage. But that's still very much, for me, quite above the curve. The fact is that those are also regions that didn't happen. So 3 regions didn't happen, which is unfortunate. So that implies that I think it's either 2 ghouls got injured or a star player got injured that didn't have regen, which, you know, I think that's how it shakes out roughly. But those are some pretty good injuries there. Okay, sorry about that. Hopefully, when I put this out, it should be seamlessly stitched in, or I only have like a second or two. Just had to attend to some business. But as I was saying, yeah. So pretty unfortunate. I think there might be a ghoul or 2 that got injured and couldn't regen because no regen was available. Yeah, just 11 successes in the 9 failures and dodges. Bit unfortunate, but I caught again word in the chat, or word in the Discord that is, that there were a few uphill dies thrown that succeeded. So, I mean, like, you know, an uphill die that succeeds, as in gives you like double power or power on both down, where like you need it, is not the highest percent play, but it does happen. A non-turnover is like a 70% with block, so not the craziest thing in the world, I will say. But it seems that the crazy dice, which will happen when someone is completely just outmatched by either the dice itself or the team's just too strong for them to really deal with. When the crazy dice are thrown and they work, yeah, I mean, but that is obviously when the player is in the position where he has to do that kind of stuff. All in all, my sort of read of the game is Plovak did very well, played very well, got the blocks that he needed, played efficiently, as can be expected of a coach of Plovak's character, or caliber that is. There was some bad dice there for Crepslim here and there. It appears to be in the log. Again, going by the log. A lot of armor breaks, even if not the craziest thing in the world considering how many blocks were actually thrown. But still, 6 KOs, 5 injuries. For me, is significant, I would still say. For me, I would say it's significant. But that's a very good win for Plovak. Congratulations. Makes the table a lot more interesting. Hats off. And the last game was, unfortunately, a concede win for Mirkwood Athletic versus Wraithguards. Rambunctious Rebels. Not 100% sure. I can't remember why. It could be that I think Wraithguard was just like, yeah, I can't play, I have something to do, and that was just agreed upon. Hopefully it wasn't just a case of lost the will to play after that Underworld game a few games back. So Wraithguard, I hope you're doing okay. I hope it's just like you're busy. Unfortunately, it can be played, but hey, no dead elf, so both teams would be happy to an extent. But those are that's how game week 11 shaked out, and now we'll move straight on to the table and all that. So let's look at the table. In first place is, of course, Gunnerside, and this is the thing I wanted to say. Gunnerside is a lock for either the playoffs or the Challenger Cup spot. He isn't 100% on the playoffs for a single reason. That is because I am at 20 points. So there is a world where I go win-win and he goes loss-loss. And if I win enough by enough points and he loses by enough touchdowns, I could pass him on touchdown difference, and I think I win the tiebreaker anyway because I have played him. So he can still fall out of that position. But we'll look at the thingamabob, the prediction tool. 0.6% of like not being of 0.6% of being second. Can't go below second, so lock. But 0.6% really shouts, yeah, it's incredibly unlikely that will happen. Again, we'll look at the matchups in the next game week or two to remind ourselves what he has to face. But there isn't really a realm where I don't think that Gunnerside goes. He's our playoff guy, essentially. He's not a lock, but he's our playoff guy. Me, in second place. Now this is where it gets juicy and steamy. As I said, Yusarian there is an outside realm where he does potentially make the Challenger Cup spot, but it's much more unlikely than even the situation of me going into the playoffs, because he's not competing with just like me and Gunnerside, for example, for that playoff spot. He has to compete with Masterful, Plovac, and GFI Joe, and I just don't think he will be able to overcome that. Him going anywhere near second relies on him beating me, and then everyone else somehow drawing or losing. Which I don't know. As I say, I don't think that's even possible because of the matchups in the next week. If I win, here's the realm. Not looking at the schedule, not remembering the schedule, because I don't do that sort of nerd work where I actually pay attention and have my shit together. But if I, for example, win this game week and GFI Joe loses, Plovac loses, Masterful loses, then I'm now locked for at least Challenger Cup spot. So we'll see how that goes. But it's still a very interesting and very scary sort of competition between second place all the way down to sixth, to be honest, because Yusarian is my opponent for the next week. That I do know. And scary. Very scary. I'll hope to win that, but it's anyone's game. Unfortunately for Mattia can't really. He can't make it. He won't be able to make enough points, and he won't be able to. There is, I think, literally no way. 0.06%. Yeah, I don't think there is almost a single way where Mattia can rely on everyone else dropping points in a way that allows him to finally get to second place. The prediction tool says that it's possible, but I don't see it. So, yep, it's between me, GFI Joe, Plovac, Masterful, and to an extent, Yusarian. But more so, Masterful, I think, is the last one who realistically has a decent chance. But if I win my next two games, well, then no hopers. But that is the table. Congratulations again to GMAN, obviously, for getting his first win of the season. That means he is not facing a win this season, which is pretty damn nice. Again, this is the thing. This is the division prediction tool. Congratulations to Gunnerside. To all of my opponents, so that's GFI Joe, Plovac, Masterful, and to Yusarian, who are the ones who can compete with me for the second place spot, I would say come and get it. Come and get it. But now we have finished that. We're for me fumbling with the sources on the OBS tool. But now we've done the actual leaderboard, the table, the prediction tool. We can now move on to looking at the teams. And so, first thing that stands out, one less zombie there for Crepulum. Sad. This white got an MMG, so whoever he faces next will be very happy that one of his main killing pieces is gone. Everything else, though, is still pretty solid. I don't believe he's picked up anything new in the past game week. The only level up he got was unfortunately on a piece which then promptly died. So this team is just how it was last week. Nothing new. Now, Mattia's team, I think, is also the same. It's been a bit of a sad season for the Necromantic in a lot of senses. I'm gonna be talking as I'm looking to see if you got anything. But it's been a sad season in general because the Necromantic has generally struggled on both cases of Crepusculum and Mattia to really get anything. Okay, so he did get a werewolf level up actually. So there is a block werewolf. Not exciting, but it's a nice building point, I guess. It's reliable, it has some protection now. But otherwise, Mattia's team is pretty much the same as it was. Still no Mighty Blow. Decent amount of tackle here and there. He has a tackle-only zombie, which is, I don't like that. Tackle-only is just not great for me because I believe that, one, tackle on a zombie it's too slow to really hit anything, even if it is full strength. But the key thing is, that thing it has nothing to defend itself. With a block zombie or a wrestle zombie, then at least it can sort of say, look, if you hit me, there's a chance for it to go wrong. A small chance, but it can go wrong. But with a tackle zombie, not protected from 1 in 9s on hitting, for one, so you're still relying on rolling like a 5 up to knock something down. But if someone hits you, you can't take it back as well. I have someone who took a tackle-only ghoul in my other division, and for much the same reason, I'm not a big fan of that. Tackle-only, not for me. But block on a werewolf was pretty nice. Hard game that he had to face there on the 3-2 loss to the Halflings. You know. Now, finally, Rift Cannon's team has his blocker back. So against me, he didn't have his blocker that has the claw strength 4, which I think for me was a massive advantage for me. So if I knocked out, for example, 2 or 3 blockers, he wouldn't have any tackle almost. He'd only have the 2 or 3. He didn't unfortunately get any level ups, but he managed to get away from the entire game without any injuries at all, which is massive. Not much to say about this team. What he'll be hoping for is that Sparks and Aphoristic in the next game or two pick up enough points for maybe Guard. Probably Guard would be the next thing if you don't roll Claw. But the team is the same as it was. Masterful's team. Okay. Now, we've seen the sort of the meteoric rise of his Blitzra. His Blitzra, who for about 10 games literally had 5 SPP and nothing else. It's now 26 SPP and as piling on Mighty Blow. So in about 2 games has gotten 21 SPP, which is stunning. It's fantastic. We have 1 SPP away on the strength up throw rather from getting his next level up. Hopefully another stat up. Maybe, if that was like 7-4-3-7, that would be an insanely good piece for Masterful. His team is always just terrifying. It's a really good cavalry team. But otherwise, apart from Classy Kian, he didn't get anything else in terms of level ups. But he'll be a terror at night for whoever has to play him next. T-Cole got some level ups, thank God. Again, North's team is rebuilding. He got, I think that's Guard and Yeti, which is pretty good. I might have thought about something like Juggernaut instead, to be honest. Just because the Yeti is a thing that's going to be blitzing a lot of the time, and Juggernaut will protect him from 1 in 9ing, protects him from being in a bad situation against Stand Firm. So he blitzes something with Stand Firm, he gets to do his follow-up blocks while pushing something if he chooses. And even, I think even if he 1 in 9s against a wrestle piece, he can choose to turn off Juggernaut and still get the piece down and roll the armor. I'm not sure. I can't remember what the interaction of no block Juggernaut is against wrestle. I think it still is, like, you can knock it down without proccing wrestle. But either way, a pretty good pickup there. Guard's not bad, and you need guard on the Norse team. So, and he also managed to pick up a sidestep runner there. So yeah, the sidestep runner is pretty good. Diving tackle for me next. Have that be a piece that you just put on things and make someone sweat, because very unlikely they're going to knock that down. And plus has a really good chance of getting follow-up hits, even if it ends up, for example, against a high strength piece. So the only one sort of bad thing, I guess, from this week was the Mighty Blow Ulf runner with guard and block is out. But hey, you could say it's safe for a game. You could say it's safe for a game. With nothing to play, it's safe for a game. Isarian took a bit of a beating this week. So we'll look at his team anyway. I don't think he got too much in terms of level ups. He got only Slay Z number 2 getting something. Tackle is important. He's clearly picked tackle, I think, for my team, where I have a Blodgeball carrier. I have goblins. I have even a Wrestle Goblin. The big problem, though, for this team in the last game week was he took a lot of deaths, yeah. So I think 2 died, 1 got moved down, and he also has an MG Gut Runner. So he will be going into his next game with only 3 Gut Runners, 2 Storm Vermin, and Thrower, in addition to not even a bench. He can buy a bench. So he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and he has 9 players. Is it 9? Okay, so he'll go into the game with 10 rostered players. Thanks everyone for tolerating my inability to count there, but 10 rostered players. So his TV goes up to 1490 in the next game. If he doesn't buy anything. He has the money. Actually, if he trims 10k off, he can have... It'll be 1480, that is. So he can now go and decide, okay, I'm going to fire the linesman, Snoop Rat, rebuy him. Doesn't have to, really. He can keep that. But he can decide to buy 2 more linesmen for a proper bench. And considering he's facing a kill team in the next game, I think it could be very useful, because otherwise you won't be able to protect the Gut Runners, the Throwers, and the Storm Vermin. Definitely. So he has to make the big decision here whether he buys a bench or he just prepares to try and rebuild. For all I know, Yusarian could be saying, I want to keep this team next season, but I might have a shot at the transfer market as well, and just pull his money. With him almost being out of like a Challenger Cup spot, like being even in contention, it's not 100% to me what he's going to do. But basically, he will have to make the decision whether or not he gives me a small amount of inducements or not. I would say a bench is probably the best idea, but hey, that's just me. Now, Helgen didn't get any level ups and he just lost players. He got a new Beast and Nurgle. And he lost the Pestigore that he's not replacing yet. This team is still looking pretty solid. The Nurgle Warriors are fantastic. Just the issue has been he lost his killer Pestigore in the game against GFI Joe, and now he's lost another Pestigore. He's had to do so much in terms of rebuilding. It's quite unfortunate for poor Helgen. Now it actually has. I would say that maybe GFI Joe's team is the superior Nurgle team. After being scary for so long, he had to run into a gauntlet of kill teams. My commiserations to Helgen there. No level ups, I don't think. So there's no level ups, just a lot of losses. Commiserations, I guess. Commiserations. Now, let's talk about this awful elf team that I despise, because it's too good. The biggest level up is the Blitzer got piling on. Oh boy. full kill elf online engaged. Now, he picked piling on, which is fair enough. This is the only level up, but we'll talk about it just because I think it's an interesting case study. Gunnerside took the piling on just so he has maybe a tool against other elf teams or lower armor teams, just to say, look, listen, I'm gonna remove a piece and have a good chance of doing so. I have no issue with that. That's a pretty good line of thought, a good reasoning. But I did suggest in the chat when Gunnerside said that, you know, oh, I rolled another double. I said, Juggernaut will at least maybe sometimes be more useful against wrestle pieces, so it gives you an alternative way to hunt, you know, wrestle pieces. Gives you a way to hunt down, fend pieces and like follow up if you want to put this sort of pressure on the fend piece. Juggernaut can also help you clear away, stand firm if you really needed to. Of course, when you have a piece that has dodge and 4 edge, it doesn't matter as much because it's not like a 1 in 9 kills you. You can just, you know, dodge out pretty easily. Nevertheless, I think that was the second option you could really choose with double. You had the option between either piling on or Juggernaut, but I have no real concerns or negatives about piling on. It can help you push your luck a bit with armor breaks, which elves can kind of like. The only issue is that sometimes it'll be 220 TV on the ground, but that is it's a risk that Gunnerside almost certainly believes is calculated, so I probably would have taken piling on myself. Otherwise, the team is looking fine. It's well, after this week, I missed next game. So after this week, he'll have a bench again. So the elf death spiral for now has been a little bit, has been stalled out a bit. It's slowed. But then again, we'll see what he plays. We'll see what he plays the next game week and report back to you on that. 11 players over next game week. A little bit dicey here and there. My team got nothing, no level ups, but I want to issue a memorial notice. Firstly, I have a miss next game, 2 heads, Horns, Blitzer, which is actually pretty bad because considering I'm facing Skaven, who will either be carrying on the thrower or the gutter runner. If it's a gutter runner, unless he's carrying on his 3 strength piece, that's an automatic 2 dice that I'll get against his gutter runner for very little effort. So that's actually a bit of a sad loss for me. But the biggest thing, obviously, is that I am now missing my wrestle piece, my 2 heads wrestle goblin that had an armor bust. Despite surviving multiple kill teams, it survived being hit by Claw, Mighty Blow, Chorfs in the first season. He won't be returning for a grudge match against Yossarian. He got armor busted in the game versus Yossarian, where he skulled out trying to attack a gut runner and armor bust himself. He won't be returning for his glorious revenge. Rest in peace, more than a fairy. And the arsehole bloody got a MVP in that game that he died. The team is otherwise pretty healthy. I think the big things that I want to pick up in the next game week, apart from the win, obviously, if the troll can injure a Skaven piece, fantastic. If the blitzer can also injure a Skaven piece, great. Both blitzers. If I can pick up the next game Juggernaut or Dauntless, or Tackle even, probably more so Dauntless or Juggernaut for me. Juggernaut and the Juggernaut. Dauntless is kind of not useful there with the horns, I guess, but Juggernaut or Tackle, I'll be very happy. Same thing, if you can injure, Dilemma can injure something. This team is on the precipice of having a game where it kind of explodes in SPP for at least these top ranks, and even a lucky level up here on one of these goblins is either another chance to roll a double or a chance to roll just more useful skills, that kind of thing. Well, I say there's more than Fairy died before his grudge match. He's back. He's back, so his brother is there. So yeah, this team's looking good. Nothing leveled up, but 2 MGs, or 1 MG and a definite goblin. A pretty useful goblin at that. I'm sure Yossarian will be marginally happy with, even if the core of the team is still very much healthy. Now, Bungie Man. Let's look at his team. This team got nothing, I think. Despite his very high scoring game, I don't think Bungie Man picked up anything. We'll look. Yeah, he got nothing. Okay, sorry Bungie Man. Well done for the win. Good luck with your team. Plovak's team. Oh, I don't believe Plovak's team got anything. Because I think. Yep, Plovak's team actually did get something. Sorry, I am wrong. Plovak's team got a Croxagore level up. Break Tackle. Break Tackle was very nice. The good thing about the Croxagore is that it has the least serious of the negative traits. It's one of the fastest big guys in the entire game, only being matched by in BB2 it's matched by the Tame Bear, which is the Croxagore, and the Rat Ogre. And is also matched in tabletop play by the Khorne Bloodthirster. It's a fast piece, its movement is very necessary, and it's useful. The Prehensile Tail and the Break Tackle is a fantastic combination to say, I'm going to move this piece no matter what's really kind of happening to this Croxagore on a 2+2+, and put it on something that will either have to block to try and get free, or risks, for example, a 4-up. Or even on an Elf, you can force that row 1 and 9. So a very useful pickup. Probably better than Stand Firm. Stand Firm is the next normal to get. Otherwise, his team is very much looking like it was last week. He has a bench now, I think. He now has the 12 players with Rick Reckless. So, yeah. Strong team for the second season, but more importantly, a very strong team right now for the next 2 games, which will prove very important for his chances of succeeding in the playoffs. So that if he gets there, if he gets to the Challenger Cup spot. Now, I don't think Wheelie and Wraithguard picked up anything because of the nothing was won in that last admin decision, so we won't be covering that. GFI Joe, I think, picked up something. Let's look. No, okay, so GFI Joe didn't pick up anything. GFI Joe also, might as well for posterity's sake look in the team roster, didn't pick up anything in terms of MMGs. His team is perfectly healthy. He has a great treasury there. With 150k in the bank, he might even start thinking about getting a first level up the stadium, and then later on getting a stadium enhancement. The stadium enhancement, if we're talking about that, because we might as well. He could pick up a bribe. He could pick up just one of the kickoff event neutralizing stadiums, so no throw rock, no weather events, that kind of thing. All of those would be quite valid, and considering Nurgle are a team which, if they struggle a bit because of the bad kickoff event, they can really lose against certain teams quite hard. So a Nurgle team versus the Wood Elf team, for example, if the Wood Elf team gets something like pouring rain, then now the Pestigore having 4 ads kind of negates that. But what happens if that gets taken out or that gets stunned? Yeah, I can see where a bad event, like a really annoying weather event, can mess with the Nurgle. In addition to something like, say, sweltering heat can mess with the Nurgle. So my only thing to say about this team is, apart from it being fantastic and really nice and really lean and efficient, is GFI Joe, you might want to think about getting a stadium enhancement down the line to counteract those potentially high variance games where you just lose because someone rolled a nice kickoff event. But that is now the teams recapped. We'll now go into the final part of the show, which is the predictions for the game week ahead. We're making good time on this. So first game, Legion Death Metal versus Full Throttle Rotters. I think that the issue that Krebsland will have is that he doesn't really have a strong bench. He is missing his best killer piece. It's good that he has his white, so if GFIJ leaves his Pestigore of Dodge sort of in the way, or he leaves it kind of free and you can hit it, then that white can be pretty nice. Same thing with the werewolf. The werewolf can do it without Mighty Blow, just claw. Cripslam always has the potential to just win a game off the back of his amazing werewolf there. So there are things that Cripslam can do, but Cripslam is outguarded, outstrengthed, and his killing potential is slightly worse than that of GFI Joe, because GFI Joe has Claw, Mighty Blow piling on. The only thing that I would say about the Claw, Mighty Blow piling on is there's no block, so he is a victim if he gets hit, but GFI Joe plays very well and doesn't let his killer get hit for no reason, so that's unlikely. However, 1700 Nurgle versus a Necromantic team that should be about 1350. That's a wizard, 100%. That's also a star player. If Cripslam wants to win this game for just competition's sake, and I do want him to win, obviously, it makes it easier for me. But if Cripslam wants to win his game, Wizard is a definite pickup. He could also think about Cheney and even scum Cheney. Wizard and Cheney being scummed is a pretty good pickup. Otherwise, can you pick? You can't pick up Sectech on this team. I'm not really acquainted with all the Necromantic styles apart from specifically Cheney. But you could pick up Cheney and a Wizard. My recommendation for Cripslam, if he doesn't want to win, he just wants to keep his team intact for next season, you can get an Igor, I think. You get some babes, if you want to make sure they keep coming to, yeah. But Wizard is definitely 100% on the team sheet here for Cripslam. And because of the Wizard being a viable thing, being a thing that he has to think about, generally, I would say it's not a clear-cut game. 1-1 is decently likely, depending on when Cripslam receives and when he, kicks. Hard to call. 1-1 for me. Okay, so Mattia faces Rambunctious Rebels. So that's Wraithguard's Dark Elf team. Dark Elf versus Necromantic. This is a fairly low-stakes game. I think that Mattia can do this, because without the two games that Wraithguard has missed, unfortunately this means he won't have the money to replace his blitzers, so he is running on 2 blitzers, 2 witch elves, which just isn't really enough. He does get a small amount of inducements due to the fact that Mattia's team is very lean as well. Both teams don't have a lot. This is like real low TV kind of battling here. Hard to say. 1-1, 2-2 is also very likely. I can see both these teams kind of having enough to score, but not enough to hold each other off for me. So that's my prediction. Now we have Mirkwood Athletic versus Bloodhorse. Pro Elves versus Chaos Dwarves. Chaos Dwarves have all their killing power back. Their team is full again. They have plenty of tools to deal with Elves. Not only do they have the blockers, but they have a very good ball that can tackle things. They have even a Rackle Hobgoblin I've tried my best to kill in my game. So there's a lot of ways the Blood Horse can respond to Mirkwood Athletic. It's not clear cut. It could be a game where it goes a 2 or 3-1 win for the Pro Elves because they get to go and nick the ball off in a single turn and all that kind of stuff. However, without any inducements in play for the Elven Union, I do kind of think that it's very likely this will be a 2-1 grind for Blood Horse. So I'm going to say, as my prediction, it's probably a 2-1 grind for Blood Horse. Again, we will see, but unfortunately without the Wizard, the Pro Elves being quite squishy, the Pro Elves kind of being at risk of Mighty Blow and Tackle, which the Castle team has in spades. It's 2-1 grind for me in the favour of the Chaos Dwarves. Our next game, this is a big one. So as I was saying, I didn't know what the matchups were for the next week. This is an important one. If Plovak wins this game, let's go back to the leaderboards for me. I'm just going to search. I think if Plovak wins this game, he can go second. He can go over me if I don't win my game. If Masterful wins, he can go over me. Masterful has more of a margin to second, but either way, this is a very key game for me and also for the playoff spot in general. I really think that this is most likely going to be a 1-1 though. Not just because I hope it's a 1-1, or I hope it's a draw, but if we just quickly measure up teams. Guard, 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 guard. Mighty blow, mighty blow, mighty blow, mighty blow, mighty blow. Mighty blow tackle, mighty blow piling on. Block, mighty blow, guard, and team guardian. You even have strength up with thrower. You have the 3 edge at least, like, to make sure you're not just picking up balls and hoping that you pick them up on 4+, even with the built-in reroll. He has a very reliable ball carrier there. And he has plenty of removal potential. He has Rackle even on this skeleton. But he also has Sneaky Get and Day Player. So you can just stomp on skinks literally all day long with bad fouls and not get punished for them if he really wants to. No inducement game from either side, apart from a Babe for Plovak. Plovak only having about 12 players means that I think he is at risk of having a bit of a casualty-heavy game. But I think both teams can really hurt each other in a sense. I think the Lizards are most likely going to be better at out-positioning the Khemri because they move so fast and have so much strength. But the Khemri are 4 or 5 strength pieces. They have lots of guard. They have lots of mighty blow. They can just hit Saurus, Saurus die. Hit Saurus, Saurus die. I think it's going to be a 1-1 though. I really do. I think both teams can hurt each other to the point they're just going to like be squabbling over the ball with whatever pieces they have left. 1-1 for me, most likely. Now, yeah. So if you enjoyed your win this week, Bungieman, savor it for a while you can, because you're now facing Norse. The Norse will have this game. The Norse will, with Mighty Blow piling on, with all their kill skills and with their superior edge as well, there's no way that I think the Halflings can win this, to be honest. Now, granted, Norse have a bad time against Halflings because they can just be cast by the tree. 7 armor doesn't always hold up. This Mighty Blow Wolf, Wolf Wonder being out is pretty good for the Flings, I would say. And if you do take out the Berserker, then the team does look a little bit less killy, to be fair. But it's a 4 strength Berserker that's going to be hard to take down. And even if he loses his killing game, he still has a bunch of blodge pieces and a bunch of edge pieces. So T-Cold is just way too much for this Fling team. So this is going to be like a 3 or 4-0 blowout for me. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong, Bungieman. Okay, get to our game now. Our game between me and Usarian. Underworld versus Skaven. Now, there is already a game in the books between these two teams in GMAN 10A. Usarian has the absolute nonsense out of me. His blitzer just hit player died. It was a 3-2 victory to him. With 6 players or 7 players each half, I could score, but I couldn't do much else, and he didn't mind if I scored because he can just score back even easier. However, with some good goblins on the pitch and with much better removal potential now because of my killing pieces in the form of my Star Blitzer and my Thrower, I would say that there's a good chance that I could do more to him than when we were faced with each other, where it was just Mighty Blow versus Mighty Blow. I have Piling On, I have Horns, I do have the Claw, which is useful, but I have Tackle and Mighty Blow, so I think that this is a game for me where I can do pretty well. As I mentioned, he gives away small amount of inducements if he buys a bench. If he doesn't, then it's just pretty much equal, even Stevens. He could scum something, but to do anything more than just say scum a Babe, he would have to blow his entire treasury. which in this game versus Claw Mighty Blow he won't do. He just won't do that. So this is a hard one to predict. 3 gut runners only means there is a little bit of leeway where I can just Kaz 2 of them and then boom, he hasn't got a lot to his team. He doesn't have enough pieces for me to chew on while he just scores around me. He does have a scary blitzer in the Claw Mighty Blow piece, but I guess for the most part, Mighty Blow is the only scary part about the blitzer. Tackle and the guard blitzer is useful positionally. This could be a game because it's a lot of 7 armor and some stunty, where it's just like, well, doesn't matter if there's a lot of Mighty Blow or no Mighty Blow. One team could just get dumpstered. Hopefully not. Hopefully this is a nice, interesting affair. It's my own game, so I won't predict it. I hope I win. It's all I can say. Our last game, the Sun-Baked Seagull versus the Mark of Nurgle. Now, after so many weeks where the Mark of Nurgle was the top dog and was giving away inducements, he finally gets to run an inducement game against Gunnerside. And really, there's not much that he can take. He could take a Wizard, but a Wizard doesn't really do much against Gunnerside. And if let's look at the schedule. He can't even take a Wizard because he plays at Gunnerside Stadium. So, I get backed out of the competition, but my recommendation, with about 270-ish TV gap for Helgen. This sounds weird, but considering you lost your ball, you have like no ball carrying Pestigore at all, go buy Withergrasp. Withergrasp isn't amazing in Blood Bowl 2 because he doesn't have dodge or anything. He does have sure hands, he has 9 armor, he has 6 movement. He'll do a job. And he'll do a pretty good job against a team that does have Strip Ball. A team that does have Wrestle. I think... Is it Withergrasp or is it... Lewd Whip. It's Lewd Whip, yeah. Get Lewd Grip, I mean. Lewd Grip is a fantastic pickup when you have no ball carrier. But that's my advice in terms of inducements. Anything else is up to you. You can definitely pick up a bribe and see if you can stomp some elves to death. I think you can get a bribe and also Lewd Grip, but I haven't done the math. However, this is still most likely going to be a win here for the Sun-Baked Seaguard. If the Sun-Baked Seaguard don't win this, then, okay, well, there's still a shot that he loses, he doesn't get into the playoffs. That is the original playoffs. Still obviously gets into the Challenger Cup no matter what. But even the draw here is enough to see the playoffs on lock for Gunnerside. So this is a big game in itself. A little bit of a victory lap more so. I do think, however, the removal potential from the Sun-Baked Seaguard is actually now superior in certain respects to the removal potential of the Mark of Nurgle, because Mighty Blow piling on tackle and also blodge to give it a certain amount of protection just runs all over what the Mark of Nurgle has, which is 1 claw Mighty Blow block warrior. No tackle whatsoever, apart from pieces that don't have Mighty Blow. So for me, I just can't put it past Gunnerside. Gunnerside pretty much will win this game, I think. 2-1, 3-1 potentially, in a really bad day for the Mark of Nurgle. Yeah, that's my prediction. But that is, with that prediction, the end of the show. I thank you everyone for tuning in. Again, I kind of apologize for a solo show for 2 or 3 weeks in a row. But as I think I mentioned, I didn't really get a chance to sit down and record anything. I recorded literally just now my 5B division recap because I couldn't arrange anything. I'm busy man. But this is the penultimate show. In the last show we'll do, and we might do a postcap of it's like seeing what happened in week 13. We might do that. I'm not 100% sure yet, but for the very, very final show we're going to do next week, I will have a guest on. I know Master Full said he was always around. If anyone else wants to come and say, I want to be on the show for the last recap and give our retrospective thoughts on it. Could even be a situation where the last recap turns into a stream where we have like 3 or 4 people in the booth, whoever's around, and just talk about the season, how they felt things went. That would also be cool. But until then, until the next time, until that show in the future, it will be me signing out. Thanks everyone for tuning in. I appreciate all the warm words I receive each week thanking me for the recap, and I'm glad people are excited for it. But good luck to everyone apart from my opponents, of course. I hope you all draw and I win and I just lock myself in this week. But until then, we'll see what happens. I'm GMAN, signing off. Have a great day.